Welcome to this video on trigonometry. In this video, we will explore the fascinating world of trigonometry, a branch of mathematics that deals with the relationships between the sides and angles of triangles. Trigonometry has a wide range of applications in various fields such as engineering, physics, architecture, and astronomy. It is also used in everyday life such as in navigation, surveying, and construction. Trigonometry is based on the study of right triangles, which are triangles that have one angle measuring 90 degrees. The sides of a right triangle are called the hypotenuse, adjacent, and opposite sides, and the angles opposite these sides are called the hypotenuse angle, adjacent angle, and opposite angle, respectively. The three main trigonometric functions are sine, cosine, and tangent, which are abbreviated as sin, cos, and tan, respectively. These functions relate the ratios of the sides of a right triangle to its angles. The sine function is defined as the ratio of the length of the opposite side to the length of the hypotenuse. The cosine function is defined as the ratio of the length of the adjacent side to the length of the hypotenuse. The tangent function is defined as the ratio of the length of the opposite side to the length of the adjacent side. Trigonometry also involves the use of inverse trigonometric functions, which are used to find the angles of a right triangle given the ratios of its sides. In the next segment, we will explore the properties of the trigonometric functions in more detail. In this segment, we will explore the properties of the trigonometric functions in more detail. The sine and cosine functions are periodic functions, which means that they repeat their values after a certain interval. The period of these functions is 2 radians or 360 degrees. This means that the sine and cosine functions have the same values at angles that differ by multiples of 2 radians or 360 degrees. The tangent function is not periodic, but it has vertical asymptotes at odd multiples of /2 radians or 90 degrees. This means that the tangent function is undefined at these angles. The trigonometric functions also have several important identities that relate them to each other. These identities include the Pythagorean identity, which states that sin 2 plus cos 2 equals 1, and the reciprocal identities, which state that sin equals 1/csc, cos equals 1/sec, and tan equals 1/cot. The trigonometric functions also have several important properties that are used in solving trigonometric equations and problems. These properties include the even and odd properties, which state that sin equals sin, cos equals cos, and tan equals tan, and the addition and subtraction formulas, which relate the trigonometric functions of the sum and difference of two angles to the trigonometric functions of the individual angles. In the next segment, we will explore how to use trigonometry to solve problems involving right triangles. In this segment, we will explore how to use trigonometry to solve problems involving right triangles. One of the most important applications of trigonometry is in solving problems involving right triangles. These problems often involve finding the length of one of the sides or the measure of one of the angles of a right triangle given the lengths of the other sides or the measures of the other angles. To solve these problems, we can use the trigonometric functions and their inverses. For example, if we know the length of the hypotenuse and one of the acute angles of a right triangle, we can use the sine or cosine function to find the lengths of the other sides. Similarly, if we know the lengths of two sides of a right triangle, we can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the length of the third side and then use the sine, cosine, or tangent function to find the measure of one of the acute angles. In some cases, we may need to use the inverse trigonometric functions to find the measure of an angle given the ratios of the sides. For example, if we know the lengths of the adjacent and hypotenuse sides of a right triangle, we can use the inverse cosine function to find the measure of the adjacent angle. It is important to remember to use the appropriate trigonometric function and units when solving these problems. The angles should be measured in radians or degrees, depending on the context, and the sides should be measured in the same units. In the next segment, we will explore how to use trigonometry to solve problems involving non-right triangles. In this segment, we will explore how to use trigonometry to solve problems involving non-right triangles. Non-right triangles are triangles that do not have a 90-degree angle. These triangles can be classified as acute, obtuse, or right-angled, depending on the measures of their angles. To solve problems involving non-right triangles, we can use the law of sines and the law of cosines. The law of sines relates the ratios of the sides of a triangle to the sines of their opposite angles. Specifically, it states that a/sin A equals B/sin B equals C/sin C, where B and C are the lengths of the sides of the triangle, and A, B, and C are the measures of the opposite angles. The law of cosines relates the lengths of the sides of a triangle to the cosine of one of its angles. Specifically, it states that C2 equals A2 plus B2 cos C, where C is the length of the side opposite angle C, and A and B are the lengths of the other two sides. To use these laws to solve problems, we need to identify which law to use and which variables to solve for. We may also need to use the trigonometric functions and their inverses to find the measures of the angles. It is important to remember to use the appropriate units when solving these problems. The angles should be measured in radians or degrees, depending on the context, and the sides should be measured in the same units. In the final segment, we will summarize the key concepts and applications of trigonometry. In this final segment, we will summarize the key concepts and applications of trigonometry. Trigonometry is a branch of mathematics that deals with the relationships between the sides and angles of triangles. It is based on the study of right triangles and involves the use of the trigonometric functions, which relate the ratios of the sides of a right triangle to its angles. The three main trigonometric functions are sine, cosine, and tangent, and they have several important properties and identities that are used in solving problems. Trigonometry has a wide range of applications in various fields such as engineering, physics, architecture, and astronomy. In solving problems involving right triangles, we can use the trigonometric functions and their inverses. In solving problems involving non-right triangles, we can use the law of sines and the law of cosine. It is important to remember to use the appropriate units and to check our solutions for extraneous solutions or errors. In conclusion, trigonometry is a fascinating and important branch of mathematics that has numerous applications in various fields. By understanding the key concepts and applications of trigonometry, we can solve problems and make sense of the world around us. Thank you for watching this video on trigonometry.